I guess, yeah. Imagine how little those people would have been tortured back in Camelot if they had a USB lighter. You know, Louis the 15th wouldn't have murdered anybody. He wouldn't have beheaded any of his wives. Who knows? You know. Oh man. Hello guys. How are you guys doing today? Good. Oh, welcome to Drop and Give Me 20 with Phil Risden. I am Phil Risden. Good to see you guys. We're talking about a lot of different shit. Talking about old things. We're talking about my podcasting career. We've been talking, you guys don't know, but we've been talking for a solid like 40 minutes without the camera rolling, without the microphones being on, without anything going on whatsoever. So you guys lost out on that. But we have a lot of great things happening, and we got an amazing guest for you. Please give it up for the amazing Brian Chu.
Woo, boo, 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 boo. Yo, thank you so much for having me on the podcast.
You're very welcome, and I always am very entertained when I do that. And I'm like, what are they is the person gonna sit there in silence? Are they gonna make their own sound effects? You know?
What did you think about that one?
That was really solid. I was like, he's trying. I was like, he's really trying. Like, because you guys don't know, like, Ryan, he came by, he brought, like, beers. You know what I mean? Like, all this shit. Like, that's how you know a guest is a good guest. You brought amenities. You know? I mean, you might as well have had fucking lozenges or something, too, you know?
I mean, I think whenever you're going to go to somebody's house, it's not a requirement, but I always feel like, yo, you got to bring something, and it's something that I'm obviously drinking too, you know. So.
That's fair. But I feel like that's also too like that's a I can tell you're raised right. Are you a very like hospitable person in general?
Yeah, I mean, like when people come over, like it's, you know, I do normal shit, but also I'm like, you know, like I like my space and my privacy too, so I don't like always just have people over, but when they do, it's people that I want to be over, and I'm gonna do what I can if whatever is in my fridge, whatever they can obviously have it. You know?
No, I feel you, dude. I fuck with that. Also, I feel like I don't know, the habit of like bringing things over and shit like that is like that's like an ethnic person thing. I think also too, where it's like if you come over someone's house, you know, especially for a party or some shit like that, you always make sure to bring shit. You got to have something, you know, even when I was a kid, like staying over somebody's house for like a slumber party, you like would offer a snack. You'd like bring something to contribute, you know? I don't know what that is.
Well, also I was like, you know, I wanted just to thank you I was like, yo, this is cool. Like, thank you for having me on this. And I was like, of course, like it's cool that we get to obviously have a conversation, you know? And I was like, all right, it's cool. Like, I was also like, what else can I get? And I was thinking like, oh, does Phil drink? You know, I was like, but what does he drink? So I was like, oh, maybe I'll get something else, like something else. But I just had no idea. So I was like, maybe I was gonna show up with a bottle of whiskey and be like, oh, sorry.
Well, no, but I love that though. I love that you're thinking that way, because that's the thing. It's like, again, it's like I have my black friends, my Hispanic friends, Asian. They always come with shit. Right. Like if I'm doing a podcast or they're just coming over my house.
And white people don't do that.
White people don't do none of that shit at all. God damn it. I mean, black people, we don't have reparations yet. Would it kill you to bring over a six pack? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So I appreciate it. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, this is just part of reparations, I guess.
There you go. I had to go through an Asian guy to get reparations.
Yeah, I'll get the money from a white person, and then it'll go through me, and then I'll just Venmo black people.
There you go. That's I think we solved racism in America. You know, there we go, man. How you doing though? You good?
I'm doing good. Yeah.
Good to see you, man. I wanted to. Well, I'm glad that you were able to come by, because I know we had to switch around a few times with scheduling and stuff. You know, so I'm happy. So these folks, they may not know you very well. Brian, if you have not heard of him, is a brilliant filmmaker, director. Can he and like, you know, he does a lot of different shit. I heard that you even worked for Vice at one time and stuff too. You know, don't fucking laugh. You know, it's fine.
I've never worked for Vice.
That's fucking hilarious. Well, then lie. Don't correct me.
Who said I worked for Vice?
Marty told me that.
No, I've definitely never worked for Vice.
God damn it.
I mean, I like Vice.
Yeah.
Also, Vice has been like, from a filmmaking perspective, like, you just kind of know that, when somebody wants to work for somebody, they know that everybody wants to work for them.
Yeah.
So they've kind of been like known not to be the best people to work for, honestly.
I have heard that in some weird ways, which I'm not sure if I should talk about because I just sent my editing reel into Vice.
Yeah, no,
for them to look at.
I'm the same thing. I'll probably, but that's the like two sides of
the whisper. Yeah. I have heard some stuff about that. But that's the thing about just being like an eager filmmaker or a person eager to work in production of any type, whether it's audio production, film production, or even just like artistry, because that's the whole thing. It's like, it's not easy to get a job in America, especially not now, but like there's plenty of jobs that you can walk into a place, fill out a fucking application, leave it, and that's it. Whereas like with what we do, it's like you have to use your imagination, create these things with no money, create these things, hope they're good, and then from that you send them in to other people for them to look at and hope they think it's good and hope they give you either some sort of freelance work or hire you on as an actual staff member. I just think that's like such an odd thing. It's like if you try to work at like Dwayne Reed, they don't want to see your like pill organizing skills before. They don't need a reel of seeing you, fucking reload the drink, locker.
But they might need a resume.
That is true.
So
you need a resume.
Like our resume, it's like if anybody ever asked me for a resume, I'd be like, I don't have a resume.
yeah.
But like my resume is
this shit.
my work, and just different things that you've made. You'd be like, all right. That's more than what you can write on a piece of paper,
That's fair. And also, guys, when I said drink locker, you might have been wondering what I was referring to. That's a refrigerator. I realized after I said it, I was like, "There's no such thing as a drink locker. It's a refrigerator," and I'm an idiot. But no, go back to what you're saying. I think that's absolutely that is absolutely true. I mean, yes, you do need a resume. All I'm saying is that it's just one of those things where it's just like sometimes you just don't know where to start. And I think it's also one of those kind of like cyclical things which happens in all markets, where it's like, you can't work here until you have experience. And it's like, well, I can't have experience until I work here or until I work. And it's just like, so it can be kind of tough in that sense. How long have you been doing like freelance and stuff for?
I mean, I've been doing filmmaking probably since like, professionally, maybe 10 years.
Okay.
Like doing commercial work, doing my own stuff. Before that, I started filmmaking just as a kid. Like, we talked about this, just doing like little skate videos.
Yeah, shooting little stuff. I see the Thrasher shirt you're rocking.
And then during the recession in 2009, my brother and I, we went to all 50 states with a camera, just like hopped out of our van, slept in the van, and just documented what people were experiencing during what we thought at that time one of the most like important times in American history. Little did we know the pandemic was gonna happen. We were like, oh, recession, what? We were like, money and all this stuff. So we did that independently, and then after that, really, people started hitting us up for work, and I was like, oh, this could be a job.
Nice.
And so then you start to balance like, all right, commercial work, but then also always having something that you're drawn to, because the clients are gonna see that and then hire you to do that. So it kind of goes, it just like kind of bounces back and forth.
No, I definitely like feel that. I would say, like, do you kind of struggle? Well, number one, like you said, you do commercial work. Is that most of where your expertise like lies, as far as like, is that most of what your schedule is?
I mean,
commercials and stuff?
It's a mix. Like sometimes it is, but then also sometimes you kind of are just waiting for a couple big projects just to like.
Well, that's why I was gonna ask you, is like, how do you deal with that in between time?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because sometimes, yes, it does come in where it's just like, get a music video one time, you get this, you get that, and it's just like every week you're doing something, and then I've had like months sometimes where I'm just not doing shit, and it's hard to even like kind of stay motivated in that sense. How do you battle that feeling?
Well, I think the in between time, it's always like you're always thinking I should be doing something else, but in actuality, I think whatever, this is what I'm trying to also learn, because like I go through the in between times too. When you're busy, shit's amazing.
Yeah.
And when you're not, you start to feel like, oh, maybe I should start doing something else. But then also I try to remind myself, like, all right, be patient. This time, whatever it is that you're not busy is also what's supposed to be happening. And I always like think about this too, like when things are like going amazing, you're never thinking like, oh, when is it gonna be not amazing? But when it's horrible, you're just like, this is the worst thing ever. When is it ever gonna get better?
I disagree. Because I'm not gonna lie, half the time when things are going great, I'm just like, when is the shoe gonna drop?
Yeah, so
I'm a comedian. All right, I got bad shit in my head. If everything's going right, I'm like, this is set up. This isn't real. What's the, I'm like, what's happening?
Something to go wrong.
I'm just waiting for something to go wrong. Yeah, I'm like, these people, everybody's in on it. They're waiting for this shit to happen, but I don't know. You deal with it, and it's you have ups and downs. I can be a very positive person too, but yeah, man. I mean, that's very interesting that you think about it that way, and I think you're totally right too. Where it's like you just need to stay on track with kind of what you're doing, and not really, compare yourself with other people. Try not to compare yourself even with yourself too much. Okay. Do you have issues with that though? Like kind of like looking at your own paper? Like, do you have people that like you maybe came up with in filmmaking who are doing really well?
Right.
And have you had issues where like they're doing great and you maybe don't have as many projects coming in and you're looking at them like, or are you just all good?
I mean, like, I think that definitely exists, it's like maybe not the people that I came up with, because also the people that are around me, whatever success they have, I'm happy for. But definitely like, you start to think like, oh, somebody has the film festival awards or this or that, and you start to like kind of want that, or like want views or sponsorships.
Yeah, of course.
But then also, you kind of realize that it's like, all right, like whatever we have a lot and enough of, so like I always try to remind myself too, it's like, all right, like you got to do your thing, and you like see what everybody else is doing and absorb that and be inspired by it. But then also, like you are who you are, so it's like,
absolutely,
if you wanted to be famous and you got that, is that like really the goal, so it's like, I don't know, I think maybe because I'm not famous or whatever the case may be, it doesn't matter, but like it's easy for me to say that in my position. But also I'm like, all right, if I got fame or if I got this or if I was here, like would that actually even matter? It's like, I don't know, I'm not sure, but I've never experienced that, and I'm not sure that I ever will, but it doesn't really, that's not the point for me.
Yeah, well, I think you're definitely right with that, because maybe it's all the mushrooms and acid that I've done, but when it comes to artistry, I kind of have had that epiphany that like all life is kind of relative.
Right.
That's not saying I want to be somebody dirt poor who doesn't have a home and can't eat.
Yeah.
Trust me, I want to buy nice shit and do nice things. But we look at these people like Martin Scorsese or somebody like Brad Pitt, or Owen Wilson or whoever, right? And some of them go through depression. Like I remember Owen Wilson, he tried to like commit suicide a couple years ago with like prescription pills, and people were like, why would he do that? Blah, blah, blah. And the answer is, it's like, because in life, everything is relative. Like, yes, when you didn't have a Ferrari and shit like that, a Ferrari was a nice car. But now that you have that money, a Ferrari is just something that takes you to work. When you didn't have a mansion was it's what heaven looked like to you. but now you live in that mansion. That's where your wife left you. And now it's just a house that nobody is in.
Yeah.
And I think once you have those material things, you start realizing that it's not about the material anymore. It's about what actually makes you feel fulfilled as a human being, as an artist, and, as a family member, and all those things. So I wanted to ask this, like, what kind of fulfills you film wise?
I mean, the whole reason why I do this, and we talked about this before too. We should have been filming that, but like the whole reason why I make films is to put myself out there and talk to other people.
Yeah.
And so it's like I could, of course, just live my life and have a conversation with somebody, or maybe not, But like I think having this idea, like just even walking around with the camera or anything for me is just a tool, is like a way to open up some kind of conversation, to be like, hey, like you find this person interesting for whatever reason, or you're drawn to whatever they're doing, whether it be visual or maybe they're out there doing something that brings you in. And so, like you open that door, and so I think for me, filmmaking is just that, is just a way to like access somebody's life. Like, look at where I'm at now, and because of a camera, not this one, but just any camera, is like, yo, like you invited me into your home, and it's like, yo, I get to see how you live, and that is important for me, and I'm just a curious person, and like I think as much as like the other way around too, like people coming over to my place is one thing, but also I'm just like, yo, if I can have access to somebody's home and somebody's life and be able to ask them questions just like you're asking me, is like that's dope, and that's why I do it.
Nice. See, I like that, man. Like that's what I kind of, well, number one, I think that's something that you having that energy kind of struck me immediately as like I met you, because, and I had a good feeling that I would like you, because even when like before Madi even introduced us, he did tell me about you and everything. Right. And what made me immediately like you even before meeting you was he was like, yeah, I just met this guy, and he was at like a show or a mic or something, and we just started hitting it off. He's telling me about comedy, I'm telling him about comedy. He's saying he wants to start documenting more comedy shows and shooting more stuff and blah blah blah. And lo and behold, I just tell him to start shooting me,
right?
And he just does.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened,
right?
And we got this crazy film out of it. And I was like, wow, that's amazing, because I think there's so many people, so many artists, and I think it's for good reason too, that I think can be a little jaded when it comes to just picking up and shooting,
right?
Unless it's like, them going out solo to interact, and just like shooting, kind of behind the camera, right. But to meet somebody and for them to be like, shoot me,
yeah,
and then just be like, okay, that's like, I think for so many people, they're very, very apprehensive to do that and everything. And I kind of really admired that you really took that chance, and it went well.
But to me, like it's flipped too, because I'm on the other end of the spectrum. It takes the other person also to be like, all right, I accept this person to film me for an extended period of time and to ask me whatever fucking dumb questions or whatever film stupid shit. And I think there's a level of trust that has to happen on both ends to be like, all right, like, at the end of the day, I'm a filmmaker. I need to have my perspective, but I'm really not trying to make anybody look bad. But like the person that I'm filming also requires a level of trust to be like, all right, this is a camera that has an enormous amount of power, and who is behind this camera.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe that's where, Madi or different people like that I've come in contact with just like are a little bit more comfortable because I'm the person holding the camera. So who am I? And I think maybe then walls get like kind of broken down to be like, all right, he's a cool dude, just happens to have a camera.
Yeah.
And like I want to film people, but also the person that I'm filming, I want them to be an active participant in it too,
Definitely.
they are human beings. You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you tell me not to film this, I might film it anyways, but I might not use it. You know, it's like you got to do it. You know, but also
See, that's smoking like a true filmmaker, though. You're like, you tell me not to film it, I'm still gonna film it, but I just won't show it to anybody.
You have to. When people say don't film it, that means you should film it.
Yeah. I feel you, man. So, like, all right, like that's very interesting, and I definitely think you lucked out with Mahdi, of course,
Right.
of all people, because he's just such an interesting
Yeah.
and kind of like a magnetic kind of guy.
Right.
You know, he can really just get you into his world, which is a huge talent that I think a lot of people don't have. So shout out to Mahdi Drummond. Love
Hell
you, bro.
yeah.
Hell yeah. But like, I wanted to ask, like, you know, so documentary filmmaking, is that a majority of what you do?
That's pretty much all that I do.
Okay.
So like, you know, I've done some music videos, thought about, you know, maybe doing some narrative stuff here and there, but really I think documenting just real people in like their real environments is really my strength. You know, like a lot of filmmakers might come in and then like want to set the light up here and want to do this and do that, but then you're altering how something feels, you know? So
Yeah.
like the documentary work is like a little like grittier. It might not be as like pretty, but it's real, you know, and like how something is lit and how somebody's space is important to show that how like a real person exists in this society, you know.
And is that what like kind of sucks you in, is like the rawness and the honesty and the realism? Because I'll say this, like, you know, as far as filmmaking goes, I feel like documentary filmmaking is definitely the most unforgiving,
right,
in the sense that there's not as much money in it.
right,
I feel like it's definitely like a very thankless
right,
like mistress. So it's almost similar to stand-up comedy.
yeah, maybe
You know,
that's why we get along.
Yeah, it's the stand-up comedy of like filmmaking, where it's like you
It
just gotta
kinda
keep
is.
making it and
That's
making it
cool.
until you just have one
Right.
really, really good one, and you know, who knows. So yeah, is that's what really like has always sucked you in, is
Yeah,
the realism?
because I think that like kind of starting from doing skate videos, it's like that is kind of a form of documentary.
It
you
is,
know?
definitely.
And you don't need that much. You do need a camera, you need time, and then beyond that, you know, lighting or whatever, like you don't got to worry about that. You just have to have access to somebody. And I think like Martin Scorsese, like, you know, you go to a film school, you have all the shit, you know, you write the script, you have a crew. Like I just never had access to that. So I thought like, all right, how do you take something that is, well, you don't have, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But then you try to use it to your advantage. Like, all right, so what do I have?
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
access to people. I have access to a camera. And so just documentary work just kind of like fell into my lap. But it's dope because it's like, it's real, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what I like about it. So it kind of blends this like skating, like filmmaking with like a little bit of reality TV with like the historical documentaries, and then just like the wave of documentaries also like, you know, kind of had a resurgence probably in the last, I would say like 10 years, because before it was like, yo, you would watch documentaries in school and that was it.
And the biggest one was like Super Size Me. That was like a blockbuster documentary. Bowling for Columbine.
Yeah, Michael Moore. Yeah,
You know, those were like the two.
right.
You know, and then, you know, and Michael Moore had like Fahrenheit 9/11, I believe, too. Or is that no? That's right. Yeah. So he had that. And those were like the three ones that were like big. And you're right. Like it did kind of just, it was kind of gone after that.
But then, like, you know, you think like, all right, so you think like those are more traditional documentaries, but what about like Jackass? Like, you know, they've obviously like I would kind of consider that documentary in a little
It
bit
is.
too.
It absolutely is. Yeah.
So there's also this like idea of like how we think about documentaries is kind of broad, and there's a lot of influence that documentaries have on like like traditional filmmaking too. They look at documentaries and draw what they want from it too, and then they put it in movies. You know? And then it kind of goes back and forth. You know.
Got you.